then this would be representative of a section I could put in. So I'll just give that a name. Now the material that's specified here should be the leading material, and in this case I'm going to choose the steel material. I'm going to define one layer of reinforcement in my slab, so I'm going to create one layer, one minimum reinforcement layer, and then I'm also going to use this in construction stages. So at the end here I'm simply going to click on New twice to give me 2 new construction stages, and then I can modify those as I wish. So my first stage I'm going to call steel. I'm just going to renumber those and rename. What's very important to note here, if you're using the construction stage manager, is that the stages you specify in here should be the same as the construction stage manager in your calculation project, say in SOFiSTiC or in TEDI. And I'm going to click OK. So the first thing I'm going to do is to enter my steel profile, and here I'm going to specify my materials already set as my steel. I'm going to put an HEB section 300 deep, and I'm going to choose the reference point there as the top center. Here you'll see that it's only available as a thin-walled section. So I'll click OK to that, and then I simply type 0, 0 into my enter point, and then my steel section appears. What's very important to note when you're working with thin-walled sections is how they theoretically operate. The steel section that's been entered here, you can assume, I'll just draw some lines in to illustrate the point, you can assume that each section is based on a single line, and that whatever properties are assigned to this line will be represented here. As you will see here, if I try to snap to a point on the outline of the section, I won't be able to, because theoretically there are only 2 points on this single central line. I'll show you on the next section just a little bit more about that. So the next thing I'm going to do is to enter my concrete section, and for that I'm going to use the panel tool here in the toolbox. Here I can specify a particular name and a material, so I'm going to change that to concrete. I'm going to leave the thickness as 0.005 here for now, and I'll show you how it gets entered. Here at the bottom I have some construction stages, and in here I can select whichever stage is relevant, so I'm going to select the concrete in here. And click back on my drawing. Now I know my first entry point will be on the y-axis, which is 0, and then I'd eventually like to enter a 200mm thick slab, so I'm going to enter that half of that distance above the 0 point on the z-axis, so that's going to be minus 100mm, minus 0.1. And then all I need to do now is to click and drag for the width of my section, and I'm going to specify 0.5 meter in this case. Now, as I mentioned before, because the thin-walled section is based only on a theoretical single line between the 2 points that are specified, you can assign it thickness. So if I modify the panel that I've just entered, here if I specify the actual thickness, so 200mm, 0.2 meters, then here it shows me the theoretical outline of that section. So now I'm going to copy that thin-walled section. I'll select that one and select by the only point that I can, and copy that across. There I have my two concrete plates in place. It's very important to split your concrete section directly above the centroid of the steel section, and this is for entering the weld element, which would, for example, represent a shear stud in a composite construction. But first I'm going to create a line reinforcement. I use the reinforcement tool. Here is the minimum layer that I specified earlier, and then I'm just going to specify 4 bars per meter. Click OK, and then all I need to do is to enter that one line. The next thing I need to do is to enter my weld, or representative of my shear stud, and I'm going to use the weld tool for that. Here I'm going to leave the steel material in place, and I'm going to leave the thickness that it's automatically specified of 20 millimeters. So you need to connect to that theoretical central line of the thin-walled element, again to the theoretical central line of the steel thin-walled element, and there the two pieces are now connected. If I calculate that, here you can see I have my shear centre and my centre of gravity points. If I were to remove the weld section and recalculate, here in the log dialog box it gives me the warnings there. So now I'm going to close that. Once again I'm going to export and use the default settings. It's taking a little longer to mesh this time. And now what I can do is I can view my sections in graphics, which is the button here with the single bat face on. And within graphics, here I can click on my cross-section overviews, and in the drop-down box here I can select whichever section I have specified. In graphics there are a number of options for viewing your cross-sections. Here you can view your cross-section values in the text box at the bottom here. For your sections where you have stress points, in this case my steel composite section here, then it will give you information about those. There are a number of options for viewing in here. I've just realised in my last section I didn't complete the construction stage manager information, so I'm just going to go back into that. For my two concrete sections, I already have concrete at birth specified for that. For my reinforcement section, I can also assign that to concrete, and my weld would also be for the concrete stage. And here on my steel I can set that to be the steel stage. So I'm going to exit and save that again and export. And this time we're going to review the results in Ursula. Just wait for that to finish. And in Ursula, the little doll icon, Here it gives me the option to open a PLB file, which is the results file. In this case I want to choose the AQA file, which stands for Aqua, the cross-section generation module. I'm going to open that. And then in Ursula you'll be able to see all of your cross-section information for your defined sections. Here are the section properties. I'll show you the cross-section number 5. In here there is additional information because it has construction stage information attached to it. So my section number 5. Number 5.1 is my steel construction stage, and here you can see my unit weight for just the steel section on its own. The second stage, the concrete stage, what it's done is it's appended the concrete information onto this section, and the original, just number 5, is the total section. So I know that's been a very quick introduction to the different types of cross-section that it's possible to create. I hope that you found some of it useful. So that will be the end of today's topic. Part 5 will be at the same time next week, and that will be on the topic of actions and loading using the Load Case Manager and the Load Case Browser in SOFiPLUS. I'll just show you where you can register for those online. If you go to the Sophistic website, click on Support, and then on Training. Here are the remaining 2 parts. If you click on the titles, then you can register for those straight away. All of the Sofinars that you've been listening to have been recorded, and they were available on the Sophistic info portal. So if I go back to the support page and click on the info portal link, here you will find, here's my series of SOFiPLUS 2010 Sofinars, and they're all available for download here. Okay, so now we have some time for questions. If you'd like to type those into the chat window there, then I'll try to answer as many as possible right now.